So you don't need IELTS, you don't need proof of funds.
Hi, Momos. Happy to have you here. So,
Hi.
an example that you can sponsor yourself to the UK without any job offer, no
Yes.
sponsorship. I'm so proud of you. Can you tell me how your journey started?
My friend literally forced me to come and learn a craft she suddenly went to learn, which is sewing. And I was very, very skeptical about it because honestly speaking, in my life, I never for once thought I was going to end up being a tailor, quote and unquote. So she was like, oh yeah, you can do this thing. And just 2 weeks, I told her to finish learning and come and teach me. That was like me driving her, telling her I don't want to learn, but she was very insistent. So she finished and we started, and 2 weeks I was good to go. And I had no
Oh,
idea how to
wow.
do it. Yes, just 2 weeks.
So, how
And
do your journey to the UK started?
I actually came here as a student, Sheffield Hallam
Okay.
University. I am doing my master's in supply chain, logistics and supply chain management. However, I knew about the visa some months into when I started the school process. And then I'm like, okay, when I come after the school, the 2 years, because my course was originally 2 years, but now it's 16 months, I've changed it. And then I was like, I would apply when I get here. Didn't know I could switch as a student as at the time until I
Mm,
accidentally stumbled into the information in January this year that I could switch. So that's how I
as
switched.
a
And
student. Lucky you,
yeah,
because those that would like to do
very
it now, they won't be able to do it anymore. They'll have to wait.
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, they won't be able to. I was thinking it only affected tier two visas until
No.
recently I checked again, and now I know it affects tier one as well. So it's
Yeah.
just out. I was one of the lucky
Congratulations.
ones.
So now would you tell us more about this global talent visa? It's
Yeah.
interesting that you don't need no sponsorship. So tell us
Oh,
what's the requirement?
absolutely. So Global Talent Visa, first off, is a visa for creatives, academias, and tech people. Those are like the
Okay.
three categories of people that qualify to apply for Global Talent Visa. And I applied under arts and culture. So it's and under arts and culture, we still have subcategories. We have photography, fashion, visual arts. We have architecture and music and drama. And I applied under fashion. So the requirements were okay. So before I go into the requirements, this visa is evidence based. It's all about evidence. It's not one of those visas where you just wake up one morning and somebody just hands it over to you. It's something you've worked for without even knowing you'd actually worked for it. So it's like a track record of what you've been doing over the years.
Okay.
And it's they want to know that within the last 5 years you've been doing something in your field, either as a promising talent or as an expert in your field. And I applied as a promising talent, which is the global talent visa. Was I've forgotten the thing now. When I remember, I will say it again. So I have the requirements were basically sales evidence, media recognition, then sponsorship or support, if you have any, and brand recognition. So I will start with the sales one. The sales is basically you know how you sell things and you have invoices.
Mm,
So you just want to have evidence that you've been selling to luxury retailers or wholesalers. So it could be a wholesale sales, it could be a retail sale, just depends on whatever you have. And then the media recognition could come from anywhere. It could be a small magazine, it could be a big magazine, it could be a blog post, whichever one you have. Then the sponsorship, they have approved people who they deem fit for that sponsorship side. In my case, I had a show in Abuja sometime 2021, I think, and it was like an exhibition. So I used that to cover exhibition and sponsorship as part of
okay.
my requirement. And then the last one is the brand recognition letter, that comes from people in your field. And again, I will need to note out this: you can't just get these things from, like, the brand recognition letter, for example. You can't get it from just anybody. It has to be somebody in your field. Then the
Okay.
compulsory requirement for, regardless of if you're applying for global, the exceptional talent or exceptional promise. Exceptional promise is the word I was trying to remember. That just skipped my mind. So I applied under exceptional promise, which is the 5 years route, and exceptional talent is a 3 year route. So the general requirements for both exceptional talent and exceptional promise is the recommendation letter. So the
Right.
recommendation letter has to come from somebody who is an expert in your field, and
Okay.
two of those letters can come from your home countries.
Mm,
One can two either the two of them come from your country or any other part of the world, but one has to come from the UK, and not just anybody. Like I've said, a carpenter can give you recommendation letter, an engineer can give recommendation letter in
Okay.
as a fashion designer, as a
Hmm.
tech person. A fashion designer can't give you a recommendation letter. It has to be somebody
Hmm.
who is doing something. So it could be your
Yeah.
professor. Let's say you're applying as technician. It could be your professor who, if you did something like cybersecurity or all those tech related courses, your professor can
Hmm.
actually give you a recommendation letter.
Hmm.
Whether the person is in Nigeria or if the person is in the UK. So if the person is in the UK, better for you. That's like your UK recommendation letter. Then for my category, it has to be somebody who is in the creative world. It could be a fashion designer, it could be a photographer, but it has to be somebody that a lecturer can also give you a recommendation letter if you study things like arts and design, um, if you studied fashion in school and things like that. So that's like the compulsory requirement for this global talent visa, regardless of which category you are applying.
You're going
It can
through.
be research, engineering, technician, medicine, or fashion, as the case may be. Before the four ones I mentioned the first time, you have to produce at least two of those categories. If you have all four of them, it's even better for you if you have all four evidences. But if you don't have all four evidences, that's fine, as long as you can get to. So most people struggle with the supports and the sponsorship part. I don't even
Hmm.
know if, because I did my entire process by myself. It was more like a cut and join thing. It was me. I was just working blindly, and then the way the requirements are, it's like the more you look, the more confused you become. But
Comes.
I remember after the day I applied, I'm like, you know what? Whatever happens, because I've tried my best. I was literally fidgeting, my hands were sweating while I was on my computer trying to apply. Like
Right.
I was palpitating. So anyway, those are the requirements, but you don't have to have four of them. If you have sales and media recognition, that's fine. If you have brand recognition and sponsorship, that's fine. If you have all four of them, that's fine.
That's even
But
better. Oh,
yes, yes. So I always would advise anybody applying to go for the exceptional promise, because it's easier. Unlike
okay.
the other one, that so the exceptional promise, you don't have to be a big brand,
Hmm.
because what they're looking out for is that this person has potential to do great in the future,
Big in
or
the
this
future.
person has exactly, so this person is in the right path, this person has potential to what's the word now, to progress, and then this
Hmm.
person is creative, so the person is actually headed somewhere, unlike the other one where you have to have been made,
Made.
quote unquote. Exactly, it's more of people who have a ground, let's say somebody
Um,
like Zara,
hmm.
very big brands, or it mustn't be
Brands.
as big as Zara, but you've had things
Your
like the
base.
catwalk, you've gone to major shows like the Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, a known brand. I wouldn't really advise people to go for the exceptional talent, because it requires you to be a more known brand than what the exceptional promise requires, if you get what I mean. So
Yeah.
it's easier for people to apply. And then the difference is exceptional talent, because they are more established people,
Hmm.
they require 3 years. They're on a 3 year settlement route because they're more established people. But the
Yeah.
exceptional promise, it's
Promise.
5 years route. So that's the difference. At the end
Hmm.
of the day, when the UK have you've gotten your paper,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter if it takes
Exactly.
6 years. Exactly. So it's always safer to go for the exceptional promise, except you're very, very sure
Except
of
if,
yourself.
yeah, except if you're a
Mhm.
known brand, you're sure that you
Exactly.
get
And then
exceptional
exactly. So if you
promise.
know yourself that much, why please go ahead and go for the exceptional
Yeah.
talent. But I don't want to take chances. I do want to take
Exactly.
chances.
Yeah. So
As
what's
long as
the
I
documents you use to do your application? The documents required?
media recognition, the sales receipt, that's the sales evidence,
Mm.
the sponsorship or support, and then the brand recognition. Those are the four requirements, and the
So you
recommendation
don't
letter.
need IELTS. You don't need
Oh no, no,
IELTS.
absolutely not. No, you don't need IELTS. IELTS, I think mostly for people who are coming to study mostly
Yeah.
NHS related courses and set
Coming to
some few
do,
schools, yeah.
yeah,
But you don't
school
need
work.
IELTS for this.
And you don't need those COS.
Oh, you don't need no, 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 no.
You
You
don't
don't
need all those stuff.
I'm,
Come on.
I'm the COS. I'm the COS.
Self sponsorship.
No, no, I'm COS now. So you don't need IELTS, you don't need proof of funds, you don't need um you don't need anybody to give
To
you any
sponsor you.
documentation aside you, yeah, sponsor
You don't
yourself,
need those
basically you're
COS.
self-sponsored. So what this visa does for you is you're self-sponsored, you can employ people, you can be employed if you want to be employed. I can decide I'm not working. And then if I decide to switch jobs, I don't have to report to UKVI, unlike the tier two visa, where you have to tell them you're switching another job and then they have to give you another COS. I can decide
Mm.
I can be a director of a company. And I think if I even have the capacity in terms of the requirements to give somebody else COS, I can.
Okay.
Because
So
yeah,
you're a brand. You're a brand
exactly.
on
I'm a
your own.
brand. So if I
Mm.
require the staff strength and then I can prove that okay, I need to sponsor
Need
somebody,
someone.
then I
Mm.
have I think there's a minimum, I'm not sure, don't quote me, but I think there's a minimum revenue you need to have as a company and a minimum number of employees. So if I get to that point, I can actually do all of those.
Okay. So for you to continue to be on this visa, what do you have to do? Is there like a criteria, or should I say a requirement that goes with the visa?
Absolutely none. So uh,
Interesting.
why are you looking shocked? The only restriction this visa has are two. You can't access public funds, and then
Mhm,
you can't work as a sports person.
mhm.
Now, I cannot confirm if there's okay, now there's startup visa and then there's innovator visa.
Yeah.
Startup visa would require startup and innovator visas every year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Every year you're required to show some sort of revenue. I
Mhm.
remember somebody telling me they were always looking for £50,000 to submit and all that. This visa doesn't require you to do that. Assume that's your business, and then the likelihood of somebody stopping is very slim in terms
Mm.
of fine. When you get in here, you have to do other jobs to settle. It's no longer business as usual. You have
Yeah.
to be duly registered. It takes a while, and then you have to sort your production. Are you producing here? So in that moment when you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, it's expected that you'll be working to make money. So
Definitely.
most people, I wouldn't say everybody, but most people would most likely go back to doing the business. Like me, when I came, my business struggled a little. Not a little. I actually almost shut down. I didn't shut down, but it just went mute because I couldn't do as much as I was doing. I wasn't taking orders again. I needed to figure out how to run this thing. It was no longer I you know how running your stuff out of
Yeah.
when you're not there is can be. So I kept only a few of my staffs, and I just collected people that know me. They would just chat me up privately. Oh, can I do this? I turned down a lot of jobs,
Jobs.
and eventually, it's even now. I'm starting 1 year after. I'm starting to now gradually sort myself in order and then go ahead with the business. So I don't expect anybody to come and start sewing immediately. It will
Mm.
take a while, but because this is your business, the
Mm.
chances of you doing it is high. So I don't think they really, because you're expected to do it. Like, so most people actually go back to doing it. I don't think don't quote me, but I don't think there's anybody who stops doing it. They might stop at some point, but most people would definitely pick it up when they're settled.
Mm. I think
But
with the
then
requirements of the visa as well, if you're able to prove all those requirements, it means you are into the business.
exactly.
So,
So that's what I
mm,
mean. So imagine somebody, a big brand like, I don't know if you know Vicky James in Nigeria, all
mhm.
those big, very
Big brand
AMVCA
coming
brands
to just
coming
let
here. They will
our
stop. They will
brand
continue,
go.
but
Yeah,
then they would just halt a little and then
exactly.
figure out what to do. So it doesn't mean
Because
they'll stop. I
building
mean,
a brand
that's
is not a day job. It took you years
exactly,
of
exactly,
investment to build your brand. I don't expect you to just abandon it. So
exactly,
let's talk
absolutely.
about the endorsement. How did you go about it? And the references you mentioned, how did you obtain the one from the UK in particular?
Okay. So before, like I said, this visa is evidence based.
Based
Before ap- you know how you've been preparing, opportunity meets, it's more like preparation meets opportunity. So
opportunity.
I've been doing this thing for a while. I've had clientels in the US, in the UK, in Canada. I've had wholesale clients in Canada. I've had wholesale clients in the US. I've had wholesale clients in the UK. I've had retail clients from different places. There was even one Saudi Arabia client. Well, the business didn't pull through, but it was for wholesale. So I've had these things all along. So all I needed to do was reach out to my clients. This is what I want to do. You're a UK brand, and I need a recommendation letter. It was as simple as that. So for me, I didn't struggle because
You
I
didn't
already had those
struggle.
things without knowing I had them, without
You had
planning for
them
them. Exactly, they were already there. So it was just for me to couple everything together.
together.
Yeah. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
very easy for me to get all of those recommendation letters.
But for someone that doesn't have it, is not as lucky as you are, what would you advise them to start doing from now in order to prepare them for the future?
Use your social media. Don't just use your phone to go and be reading Gist Lover. Oh well. See, let me maybe this would even help somebody. I started this business with I told you I learned in only 2 weeks. In fact, somebody literally forced me to learn. It was never what I wanted to do. In fact, they told me I would ever so in my life. I did not even know how to thread machine, but I was able to do it. And then I utilized my social media very, very, very well. All my business is strictly online. I wasn't this kind of business is now all about packaging. You have to go with the trend. Gone are those days where you open a kiosk and you start sewing and then people just come in and start pricing you to amend clothes and all of that. Package yourself, network. People you have no idea who is looking at you, who is watching you until you actually need something and then you're like, when okay, for example, when I did my media recognition, I had no idea people were stealing my work to write blog posts without even giving credit to me. I had no idea my name appeared on Vanguard newspaper, This Day newspaper, The Guardian newspaper, wedding blog sites, sports, post sports. I had no idea until I was looking for these things. So my point is, people are watching you. People are looking. People are seeing. In fact, there was a time, there was a lady that I was looking up to her brand. The brand is really big, and then the next thing I saw this lady following me. That tells you people are seeing. So talk to people, approach people. This is what I want to do, and this is what I need. It's either a yes or no. But before you approach anybody, make sure you have something to show. Say for
Mm,
instance, now I don't know you from nowhere, and then I want to come to you and say, I want you to give me a recommendation letter. The first thing you're going to do is look at what I have. Even if
mm,
you want to say no, you're like, oh, let me just see what the person has. So by the
mm,
time you see what I have, even if you intended to say no before, you might actually change your mind, given that, oh, this person actually has something that even might be beneficial to you as well. And that's how a relationship starts. For me and you, for example, we just networked we've not met
we've
physically,
never
but it was
met.
just networking on Instagram. So network, talk to people, and then package yourself well. It doesn't come in a day. You get loads of no, but you will get one yes. That's the truth. And this is not a visa you will rush to apply. Don't rush to apply. Go over this thing, read. I know how many times I had to cancel my recommendation letter to write another one, to write another one. One particular person, he signed like 4 times because
Just to get it
every day,
right.
exactly, every day I had to go back and then I'll see something I needed to add that wasn't added. And
Uh,
then that was how the circle continued. So you talk to people, there are no two ways about it. Network, collaborations, very important. If you see a photographer in the UK, it's expensive. But if you can afford it, if you see a photographer, something as simple as getting that photographer to shoot for you, like I have a dress, I want to book a photo shoot, build relationship. Me and you
mm,
know that you're not there for the photo shoot. You're actually there to build relationship. That is it. So you build the relationship and then you enter from there. Then before you know you're meeting other people, then look for groups. I've personally not really seen a lot, but well, because I've not started looking. You know how you have this there's one in Port Harcourt where they have different tailors come together. If you can find those groups, even if you
groups.
see, and then if you see things like, there are loads of all these online short courses that are cheap that somebody can do. Utilize those things. If you see anyone, and then just look at them. If they're in the UK, see if it's something you can afford. And then especially, I would advise the smaller ones. Don't go for the ones that have millions of followers. The
Mm,
smaller groups that you can actually approach the owners or the organizers, and then go for shows. If you see a show that is happening in the UK, like a fashion runway show, keep looking. Go for them because your recommendation letter can actually come from things like GT Fashion Week that is done in Lagos annually. I know
mm,
somebody who got his recommendation letter from them, but that's for the Nigerian one. But then
mm,
those kind of events also happen here. It will cost you money. Forget about the money. You're looking at something that would save you. Imagine paying school fees. You know how much it is. I paid 14,000
mm,
that I would have avoided if only I had
mm.
the right information at the time.
Exactly.
But then this is me paying
Mm,
£14,000 that I would have used in investing in my. And you know how this UK is. I'm not
mm,
discouraging anybody from coming to school. But what sells more in the UK is certification. So imagine me investing that money. I didn't know. I was, of course, masters is what everybody would like. Oh, masters. Masters is not that big a deal here. Your
mm.
certification is
Oh,
stronger than your masters. So if I had
mm,
known that money, I would have invested in a certification that would even pay me more.
better.
So then talk to people. Another thing I would advise is talk to people. You don't know who has the answers to what you need. I could be
Exactly.
having a conversation. Okay, the other day I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and then she goes, "Oh, there's a fashion designer I know here in the UK." And then we're not talking anything related to this, but then I've gotten
Mm,
something. Then the next thing I want to say is, "Oh, can I please meet the person? This is what I do." That's how
mm,
conversations start. So
mm,
you have to open your mouth. There are no easy ways. Nobody's going to hand you a letter, and trust me, you're going to get more no's than yes. But
mm.
one is going to click if you do it the right way. That's just what I'll say.
That's loads of advice there.
Mhm.
That's loads of advice there for those that are planning to come through this global talent visa. So you've
Mhm.
spoken about the requirements, the documents, which is same as the documents. So if you plan to come through this pathway, you already know the criteria, what you need. Start now to build yourself towards what you would need to get the visa.
The cost, so I can't remember the entire cost as it was, but for everything I spent less than £4,000. So the IHS fee is what carries the entire money. IHS fee is 3,120 for 5 years. Um,
Mm,
then the visa fee was about 405 or £425. Then your endorsement fee, was it? No, sorry, I'm mixing it up. Endorsement and visa was about £600 plus. So one of them was £200. I think the visa was 200 and something. Then the endorsement was 400 plus. But I'm mixing it up. But when you put everything together, the one I'm very sure of is the IHS fee, which is 3,120 for 5 years. But because IHS is now increased, and I think they've implemented it because I recently applied for visa for someone, and it was £800 plus. So if that is the case for this visa as well, it's 800 times 5 years. But at the time I did mine, it was 624 or so, and everything amounted to 3,120 for 5 years. Um, so that's the IHS amount. And then the other things are just the visa and then the endorsement amount. And then another question people always ask is who endorses you? So
mm,
who endorses you? You're not applying to anybody particularly to endorse you. Every application is made on UKVI. So every category has different people endorsing them. For arts and culture, which is what I applied under, it's British Fashion Council that endorses you for arts and culture. So what you do is you're applying on the website, UKVI website. So you're not going to apply to British Council separately. You're applying on UKVI website, and then they would forward your application to British Council, British Arts Council, and
mm,
then they would endorse you and revert back to UKVI. So UKVI is just going to send you an email that you've been endorsed. And then once you've been endorsed, the visa takes, if you're in the UK, the visa takes, you can get the visa in a day if you do priority, but it's not necessary because standard takes 1 week. They tell you 8 weeks,
mm.
but it takes 1 week and your visa is out. So everything would, when you have all your papers ready, from the day you apply, give it 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the visa you apply for. But standard visa, 3 weeks, everything is ready. 2 weeks, your endorsement is out. 1 week, your visa is out. But it's written 8 weeks each, but it doesn't ever get to 8 weeks. If you're rejected too, you can appeal.
You can appeal. And if you
Mhm.
have family, would you also apply for them?
Yes, if you have family, you're applying for them, but and you're paying for the IHS fee. You're not paying for endorsement fee. So with your family, you're paying for IHS and the visa fee.
You don't need to show proof of funds for your family.
Nobody. You're not showing proof for anybody.
Any proof of funds. That's interesting.
So that takes
That's
away a lot of stress and
yeah.
money. Because you don't need IELTS. You don't need anybody giving you COS. You are the COS.
You
You don't
don't need
need proof of
IELTS.
funds.
You don't need
Yeah.
anyone giving you COS. You're the
Yeah.
COS. I love that. Wow, that's interesting.
And then
Wow,
you don't need anything.
congratulations once again. So, do you congratulations once again. So for those that are viewing us, let us know your Instagram handle in case if they are interested, come and patronize you. And you also have a YouTube. Just tell us your YouTube handle as well. So if you have any question, please find her, go to her YouTube channel, go to her Instagram accounts, and hope you allow them to come and ask you any question. Do you mind?
Yeah, of course. So my Instagram is official Momostula. Please don't send it to my business account. My business account is Momostula as it's written on the screen. But my own handle is official Momostula. So when you just type Momostula, all of them will come out. But official Momostula is my personal handle. And my YouTube channel is Momostula.
I will leave her Instagram and YouTube channel handle on the screen. So if you have any questions regarding Global Talent Visa, please go and ask her questions. She's very welcoming and I believe she will answer you. Just don't
Yeah.
send it on her business handle, like she said. Send it to her personal handle or on her YouTube channel. She would attend to every questions. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this section.
Thank you very much for having me.